YouTube. This is my video for now. I am going to do something slightly different for today. I'm not going to be quite as detailed about my work, at least for this week, because it seems to be a bit repetitive. So just give you a bit of a summary about where I am and what was on my mind, which I thought I'd share with you guys. So I am about half an hour away from my pickup, and tonight I find myself in my new second home, which is the northwest of England. And today I ended up in Blackpool, having had a job from Peterborough this morning, although it was late morning, sort of mid-morning I would say. And so by the time I got to Blackpool, offloaded my job, I thought I'd just make my way back towards Manchester, looking for jobs, bidding on stuff. And it just so happens that I've managed to get myself exactly the same job that I had last week, which is picking up in Stockport, delivering to Nottingham twice, two Nottingham, one in Leicester. So I know exactly what I'm doing. I went reasonably low on the bid because I was getting a bit stuck again. So I went £1 a mile plus £10 for each stop, and there's actually an additional stop. There's four stops on this particular one. There's one in Stockport itself, and then the three other normal ones. And so, just as a summary, today when I've got home, which will be quite late again, it'll be about 11 o'clock-ish, I will have earned after fuel £230, 230, from the two jobs the today. And on Monday I did do a full day. Well, I did do a full day, but the evening was going to see my mum in hospital and going to see my stepdad on the way home. So I was very late back that night. About half of that day was really personal errands and personal things, not all work. But if I take into account all the miles I did on Monday, then I made £157, 157 after fuel on Monday. So I'm averaging around about 190 a day at the moment. So it's not quite what I need to achieve, but it is what it is, isn't it? So I was going to talk a bit about something that's really important to me, and I've been reflecting on it a little bit over those few days. It's nothing to do with same-day courier work, but it is to do with my video that I did about my views on social media, which was last week sometime. And I reflected a bit upon that, and I realised there's there's loads of social media that I've not even mentioned that exist nowadays that I'm not involved with. So I can think of two more: Discord and Twitch, and two other ones that people use. But I'm sure there's loads of others. I think Telegraph is another one. So there's like loads of social media. But the point I was trying to make was not about specific things. It was about my experience specifically of using social media, why I'm reluctant to use it, and my negative experience of using it in one example. And the fact that I realised that if I just got off it, that solved the problem. So only doing stuff that benefits your life is better than sticking with things that bring you down, no matter how much utility they may have in other aspects. And it got me thinking about the thing I want to talk about today, which is bullying. And I think the way I see social media negative comments, it's a form of bullying that people do nowadays that didn't used to exist when I was younger. And I reflected over those few days on my experiences of bullying. And I thought I may as well make that public. It's a bit of an experiment because I don't know whether it's going to be of any value to you, but I suspect that most people of my age, and even most people in this country, will have some experiences, direct experiences of bullying. I'm not sure which lane I'm meant to be in, so I'm going to be N62, which is that lane there. Okay, that's a bit better. So I'm going to start off just going back. I'm basically just going chronologically in my experiences of bullying as I remember them in my life, and then tie it up at the end as to what I think that shows me. So, going back to my primary school days, we moved around a lot when I was that sort of age. I ended up at a school where I found myself kind of following the crowd and actually being the bully. I was a name caller. And I remember there's one particular person who was quite dishevelled and quite sort of obviously came from an impoverished background, and quite a lot of us would sort of call them names. And I definitely felt that was quite a shameful thing for me to be doing. And I've tried to think back at how old would I have been, and I've pinpointed it in my memory to being 7 to 8 years old. I wasn't 9, it was before then, and I wouldn't have been much younger than that. And that person will have grown up now, and they won't remember me at all. And they may not even remember, that time life been particularly bad. But at the time, I experienced being someone that would pick on someone else who I perceived as being weaker than me. Not physically, I want to emphasise that, but equally, I am ashamed of being someone that would call someone names just because I could get away with it. And I say that because that's my first genuine memory of bullying, and unfortunately it was me being the bully. So come forward a few years to middle school. So in my area there was first school, middle school and high school. They don't really exist anymore, I don't think, or at least not that I'm aware of. So this would be between the ages of 9 and 12, middle school. And my experience in middle school was very different. There was a group of 2 or 3 boys that were, I'm sure they were in my year, but it was hard for me to remember, and they just took a dislike to me, and they would bully me. Now, I don't think there was a lot of physical bullying, because it was more kind of intimidation and name calling and kind of, I would call it name calling and intimidation. I would call it that. But there's 2 stories off the back of it I want to say to you. The first story is I was involved in a couple of instances where I got hit, but I don't recall it being very much. But what I do recall is every day walking to school and walking back from school, I remember it being a nerve-wracking experience. When I was at school, it was generally okay. It was just because they lived in the same estate as I did, and so the opportunities they had to sort of have a go at me was outside of school. And what it made me think about was, when you're bullied like that, it doesn't take very much for you to actually feel quite scared all the time. And it's the unknown, isn't it? It's the not knowing. Is it going to be today when they see me when I walk around this corner? Are they going to be at the shops when I go past it today? If I get to this point, can I run home quick enough? So I remember much more the fear of being picked upon than actually happening. And the second story I've got off that was probably towards the end of that time, probably when I was about 11 or 12. So this would have gone on for about from 9 to 12 would have gone on for. I moved away from the area when I was 12, so I managed to escape from it. And my other story is there's one particular guy who was part of this little group, and he would be someone who I describe as being more of a hanger-on. He would be someone who'd call your names but hide behind the bigger guy. He'd be like the person next to the bigger guy who'd be the one who'd hit you. And I was with him waiting for some friends because we sort of had kind of joint friends. Mainly let me be more specific. I would in those days I would go out and play football every night, but he wasn't one of those people. But some of the people that played football, he knew. So we were waiting for some friends, and it just happened to be just me and him waiting outside a friend's house. And I didn't like him very much, but you know, I found him to be less intimidating than the other people in his group. And he was sort of saying stuff to me that was kind of winding me up, deliberately winding me up, because that was his game. His game was, you know, verbally have a go at you and cause you grief. And in my head, I remember distinctly thinking, I've got two choices here. I could either just walk away, go home, I lived down the street, and ignore him and not bother about anyone else coming, or I can stay here and I can wait until he annoys me so much that I feel enough aggression to hit him and have a fight. And in my mind I thought, actually I quite fancy having a little go at this guy, but I can't just do it. I need to have some provocation. I can't just start a fight for no reason. So I kind of half-heartedly said to him, "Oh, don't say that. Leave me alone. If you don't leave me alone, I know I'll hit you or something like that. Maybe I can't remember the exact words." But I remember in my mind thinking, I kind of want him to carry on so I can hit him. And to my surprise, because I wasn't necessarily a big fighter, but to my surprise, after about 20 minutes of him badgering me, I got to a point where I thought, yeah, okay, I'll hit you now. So I hit him, he fell down. I think he fell down more in shock than anything else. And I started kicking him when he was on the floor. I mean, compared to, I don't know, compared to some fights, it was quite a mild affair, but I felt a great deal of satisfaction for sticking up for myself and making him feel a little bit smaller. And then basically it stopped because the lady in the house, who's our friend's mum, shouted out the window, "Stop that!" So we stopped, and then we just walked back our separate ways. And I don't remember after that point getting any more grief from that guy. Now, I don't know what that says really, because it's almost like I'm condoning violence, and I'm not really. What I'm condoning is, for me, at that moment in time, in that, this would have been in the early mid 80s, mid to late 80s. It was the right thing for me to do to kind of just deal with the situation. I then moved away from the area, moved to a completely different area, moved to a new school from my high school, and I don't really remember there being. Oh yes, there was. Yes. The only other time I had a bit of bullying was I joined the football club for the local village, and I was kind of chaperoned by a local kid who worked with the family that I was with. So their family worked with my family, and so the kid was my age, and so he kind of was tasked with helping me get to school on the bus. and I sat on the seat and he sat on the seat behind me, and he proceeded to secretly pinch my neck for no apparent reason. And I didn't have a clue why he was doing that, and I just thought, that's a horrible thing to do, you're not very nice, and I didn't want to be particularly his friend. So for the sake of appearances, I kind of pretended that he was alright when my family asked, but I stayed away from him really once I got to school. But there's no reason for him to do that, absolutely no reason at all. Just him taking, I don't know, taking advantage of the new kids. Right, so when I think about my time at high school, beyond that time, and at university, I don't really think there was any bullying that I was aware of. I think it was quite a nice time of my life for that. And the next example I'll give is in my mid-40s. I was working for a charity towards the end of my time there. I've been there for 9 years when this happened, and there was a change in the leadership of this charity, and new managers came in, and they were looking to downsize the company, and there was a millennial aged manager came in who was quite, in my view, inexperienced, but was very confident with themselves, and they took it upon themselves to make everyone's life difficult so that they would eventually resign and the company could downsize. Now, I don't believe they felt they were doing that, but that's what I observed them doing. And after about a year of this, eventually I left as well. I tried to go to the department first, and then I left. But I'd been there for 10 years by that point, so it was sort of time for me to move on. So in the end, I asked for redundancy when it got to that point, and I got that. But I remember thinking, the reason why I mention this example is, I won't be specific about what they did and didn't do, because it's all very subjective. But what I will say is, every day when I was undergoing this management, because they were my direct manager, every day I would get more and more, my work would get harder and harder for me to do. I felt it was harder to do even the simplest things, and I wasn't being supported by them, I was being undermined by them. I didn't trust them, and I just felt this is really not a good place to be in terms of this relationship with the manager. And I did try to sort of, talk to them. I remember one particular meeting I had, I thought, this is meant to be like we have like one-to-one meetings, it's meant to be open and honest, they generally want me to be like that. So I said to them, I don't really get on with your management style, and I thought that would lead to a discussion, and then I had a chill going through my back when I realised they went, oh right, that's very rude. And I thought, oh right, okay, we're not going to have a discussion, are we? They're going to take that as an attack, and now I've really kind of put my foot in it. So I kind of brought that meeting to a close as quickly as I could, and I thought, I can't trust this person, I can't talk to them about it, I can't change them, so I'm going to have to do something about that, which meant me leaving in the end. And one last thing about that, that time, that sort of year, I definitely realised towards the end of it that I was experiencing depression because of this toxic managerial relationship, and I've never really suffered from depression, and it was something that was definitely tied to this one relationship. So when I got away from it, when I left the company for example, it was completely over with. It wasn't anything other than just that one relationship. But I regard that relationship as being a bullying relationship because of inexperience, poor management style, and just not being self-aware enough. So they would probably think they were doing everything by the book and fine, but I just really think they were really poor, inexperienced managers. Right, so I wanted to share that because for me, bullying is like the number one thing that I really want to combat. Now that I've had those experiences, now that I've had those experiences in my life, and now I'm the age I am. Sorry, the other thing I'm going to mention, which is in passing, because it's not really my story to tell, but I would have to say that as a parent of 3 children, I think they all experienced, to a greater or lesser extent, bullying at school. That to a greater or lesser extent I was or wasn't aware of. So I'm aware of bullying secondhand through my children as well, and it's that really, as a parent, makes you feel so helpless and so hurt. So scrolling on, now my kids have pretty much grown up, I have this really negative reaction against people that bully, and I'm kind of making it my life's kind of goal to, whenever I see bullying or experience bullying, to stand up to it. And I experience bullying in lots of examples. In the news, particularly sometimes it's people that are bullying, but really the main place it happens now is on social media, and I think that explains an awful lot about why I don't like social media, because I think it opens up a whole new avenue for bullies to target victims. Now, coming to a close, I explained in my video about my social media kind of approach that I just came off that WhatsApp group that I was not happy with, and I'm much happier now having done that. But there's slightly more, I think, to that story since that point, and I want to kind of go into that. Off the back of that video, I looked at any comments that came in, thought, well, there may be... I wasn't particularly happy with the flow of that video that I did, but I thought I'd probably, if someone was going to, if someone knew me from other videos and they watched that video, they'd kind of get the gist of what I was trying to achieve. If you came into that video as the first experience of me, you might find it very disjointed and very, not easy to follow. But I did the best that I could to explain what was in my head at that point, and I could do it again probably better, but that isn't kind of what I do with these videos. So I left it as it was, and I thought there's probably going to be some sort of comeback on this, because there's quite a lot in there that could be disagreed with, because we all have different perspectives. And I had a look a few days later, there was there's one comment, and so I thought, that's interesting, only one comment. So I had a look at it, went in to look at it, and my comment section was empty. And I thought, oh, that's weird. So I left it, came back to another day, and I looked at it the next day, same thing. There's one comment, but it was empty when I went into comments. And I was really confused as to what was happening. And a few days afterwards, I thought, I've got a really good idea as to what's happened here, which is what I'm going to use to tie together this video and my last video. I have told you that a while ago, some people will put a comment on and then delete it, and I didn't understand what that was all about. I think that's what's happened. I think someone put a comment on there and then deleted it. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see that comment before it was deleted, so all I see is an empty comments page. But I'm pretty sure I know both who put that comment on there, and I'm pretty sure what the emoji would be that they put on there as well, because it would be the same as they've done before. Now, the emoji that they've used before is something that could be ambiguous as a positive thing or a sarcastic thing, but I'm now learning that to read it as a sarcastic thing. And I think that someone that does that sort of thing, who would listen to that whole video, stick a sarcastic comment on, then delete it, is the kind of person that I would relate to being like a bully. I think they're the sort of person that I find to be quite weak in character, quite a pathetic character, and they're sort of the person that would use social media to attack other people but be hidden behind, you know, the anonymity of social media. And reminds me very much of that person that I had a fight with, who stands next to the bully and says names but doesn't get involved in the actual dirty work. So that person I had a fight with will have grown up now. He'll be my age, and he'll be on social media. If he hasn't changed his character, he'll be on social media writing negative comments to people and under some sort of pseudonym and having a go at people. And I just wanted to make the point that I know the name of the person that has more than likely made that comment. I know that the people in the WhatsApp group all know who that person is, and I know that if they listen to this video, they will link it all together, and I know exactly who they are and who we're talking about. So yeah, so that's all I want to say really, that I'm basically calling them out as being an online bully. I think, to repeat, I think they are weak and pathetic, and I want to say to them, I'm not in that group anymore, so I don't get affected by anything you say. And I find it quite liberating, to be honest. So yeah, let's leave it like that. I think this is my attempt to have my little fight back against those bullies in the world, and just tell them to stop being so pathetic and be nice to people. That's it. If you're gonna, on a wider point now, just not about this, on a wider point now, just to finish off, I was thinking about my approach to social media. I was thinking, well, if I like something, I'll write down that I like it and sort of try and make the person who's produced that content feel good. If I don't like something, I'll just ignore it. I won't type anything. I don't understand the point of criticising and putting people down, particularly when you don't understand their perspective or their point of view. So why not just use social media for the positive comments and big people up, and not the negative comments? I'm going to bring this video to a close, but this reminds me of something else I want to talk about, which is about people's attitudes to change. I think that's another part of what I probably need to mention at another time. So maybe I'll do it on Friday, maybe I won't. But I'll bring us to an end now. So thank you very much for listening to this video. I hope that you are all being successful, however you choose to define that term. And I'm choosing to define that term as fight back against the bullies. I'll see you on Friday, no doubt. Farewell, friends.